to our YouTube channel. In today's video, I'll be recapping my July reads. So in the month of July, we ended up reading 11 books, which I think is a new record for me. I think that I've been kind of slumpy this whole year. I don't want to say I've been slumpy. I think I've just been doing like my exact TBR and nothing extra. And then this month, I like had the motivation and like the room and availability in my schedule to read extra, which is kind of wild and crazy. But just because we read 11 books does not mean that it was 11 amazing books. We had some kind of duds. Like I would say on average, I read more, but my average rating this month was lower. I think we only had 3 5 stars. Maybe two. One, two. Yeah. Yeah, we only had 2 5 stars. Which like to me, I would say that I rate like 1 in 3 books 5 stars. I'd be rating a lot of books 5 stars. I just pass that shit out like candy. So for this month to like not have like 7 5 stars, kind of crazy, kind of wild. I don't know. It was weird, but we'll go ahead and get into it. Okay, so the first book that we picked up in the month of July was actually a leftover from June's TBR. We had this little novella, Mountains Made of Glass by Scarlett St. Clair, and I ended up giving this one a 4.5 stars. It is a retelling, which I did not love. It's like a Beauty and the Beast kind of thing, where she has to like go live in his castle and shit. It's enemies to lovers, which we like, and there is an overarching story that is being told like about these princes that are like being like affected by this like curse situation. Like this is just one of the brothers' stories, and the other brothers, I think there were 6 of them or 7 of them. But there's like more brothers, and that's who the other novellas are following, is like the other princes of this realm. And so that's kind of the overarching story that we get through all of the books together. I don't know if I like it enough to continue it, is the only problem. Like I liked this one. This one was pretty great. The only thing that I did not love about this one though is that like there was a couple of like side characters that for no real reason just like hated our FMC. Just were like so anti this girl and were like messing with her hardcore. And like they would act like they're friends. Like both of them did this. They act like they're friends with her, and then they like screwed her over in the end. And I was just like, why don't you just hate her from the beginning? Why don't you just be mean from the get go? That's easier, usually. But whatever. I did enjoy this one. I'm just not super sure about continuing. I might continue it with like the other novellas and just read it on Kindle because I'm pretty sure it's also on Kindle. But like, I'll probably just end up doing that instead of like going out and like purchasing the other books. And I also think I'm only going to do it when I like really want like a little novella. Because again, Skinny Legend, we love having novellas just around. It's great. But yeah, not convinced that this is like a must finish series for me. So the next book that I picked up in the month of July was Stealing Home. This one is by Grace Riley. So this is the 3rd book in the Beyond the Play series. We are following their adopted brother Sebastian, and I believe the girl's name is Mia. And so Mia is in like astronomy, I guess. Like she wants to do this like super cool like internship about space, and she's like super into, like wanting to go to space. Sebastian's a baseball player, so he's like staying on campus for like summer training for baseball. And so in this one, they decide to kind of like live together a little bit in this like very interesting like friends arrangement after they were already kind of like in a friends to with benefits relationship. They decide to end that because Mia was worried about catching feelings. And then they decide, okay, well, we're both living on campus this summer. Mia's student housing sucks, so she just decides to go ahead and live with them. And like they kind of are in this like interesting, not like relationship, but like friendship. Like they figure out that they like spending time with each other. But yeah, my main qualm with this one, I ended up giving it a 4.25. But my main like qualm with this that I did not love is that like the 3rd act conflict made a lot of sense. And like I almost liked the 3rd act conflict because it made me realize like how different things were with Sebastian and his adoptive family than her and her real family. Because her real family does not support her like going to college and like doing what she wants with her life. They want her to get married. They want her to settle down and have kids. I think she's going to college for a teaching degree. Like she's doing some like accelerated teaching program so she can be done and like be ready to be a teacher so that she can quit her job in like a year and get married and pop out babies. And so when she meets Sebastian's adoptive family and she learns like how much they like support him to follow his dreams, which is also another thing because Sebastian kind of wants to quit baseball but doesn't know how to tell his adoptive family he wants to quit baseball. But like that's like a whole side plot in this. But like the third act conflict made so much sense, and then the resolution of the conflict was it didn't make sense. Like it was like that could have been a resolution for something else, not a resolution for what our actual conflict was. So it didn't really fit the issue. So I think this is my least favorite book in that series. I do think Breakaway is my favorite just because I really enjoyed that kind of storyline. But I am very excited for the last book in the series, which is Wicked Serve. It follows their little sister, and she ends up dating, I believe it's her brother who plays hockey, the brother from Breakaway. She ends up dating his like arch enemy, like his rival on the ice. So super excited for that one. Overall enjoyed it, but like it was just like a college sports romance with like kind of a wonky ending. So overall 4.25 stars, not terrible. Next up, I read Bromantasy. This one is by Marie Roche, I think is how you say her last name. Overall, I gave this one a 4.25 as well. I did really enjoy it. It's kind of like a like quest style kind of book where these two end up getting roped into helping the like King's Guard look for a dragon. And that was one thing I really loved about this book is that it has a lot of like mythical creatures without being like super mythical creature forward. Like our two main characters are just like regular humans, but there are, you know, orcs and there are like other mythical creatures. There's dragon shifters. Like it's super fun. And I really enjoyed that part of it. I also really enjoyed, you know, like how every character was like its own character. No one felt the same, even though there were multiple members of the King's Guard. Like they were all very much their own distinct characters. But on that note, I felt like a lot of the characters were really immature. Like our main male character is supposed to be, I think, 28 or 29, and he was acting like he was like 16. Like he was like holding on to things that like as a 28 or 29-year-old, you just gotta let that shit go. Like we just can't be sitting on to those feelings and holding that in. Because it was also like his best friend and roommate was the person he had this kind of like not animosity with, but like kind of like a beef with. And it was like, dude, you see this guy every day. Like you could just tell him. Like you probably should have told him like 5 years ago, but you could just tell him, hey, like it hurt me when you do this. Don't do that. But he didn't. Like never. Like not until the very, very end. But overall, I did enjoy it. I do kind of think it's setting up for like a sequel, which I didn't also love. Like if it becomes a series, I won't be mad. But I also didn't love that like it felt like at the end we were pushing towards there'll be another one of these, don't worry. And I don't usually love that. The next book that I picked up was Fever Dream by Elsie Silver. I ended up giving this one 5 stars. It was our first 5 star of the month. I did really enjoy it. This one is kind of like a like rival sister bull rider romance where our main male character is going to be on a dating show and the like producer assistant person on the show is his rival's little sister. And so it has a tie to the Chestnut Spring series because our female main character is the little sister of Theo Silva, who is the love interest for Reckless. Yes, he's the main male character of Reckless. So it does tie into that and it does kind of like feature different like nods to the Chestnut Spring series, which I thought was super fun. But it also had, you know, like all the things that we know and love from Elsie Silver, where it's kind of, you know, small town, cowboy, like that kind of vibe. And definitely like family focused, family oriented. Our main male character has, I believe it's 2 sisters or 3 sisters. I forget. But Emmett, our main male character, has a couple of sisters and his grandparents who like raised him. And so it's like this whole like family affair getting this TV show going. And our female main character obviously has her brother Theo that she's super close with, and her mom that she's also super close with. So that's kind of where we're at with this one. I really enjoyed it. I'm excited to see what other books are in this series because I believe it's going to be following Emmett's sisters, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I really enjoyed it. 5 stars. The next book that I read in July ended up being Glow of the Everflame. This is the second book in the Kindred's Curse saga. So we are following Diem as she kind of navigates what happened at the end of Spark of the Everflame, which was a big cliffhanger ending. This one also has a cliffhanger ending, and I wanted to cry. I'm very glad that Heat of the Everflame, yes, Heat of the Everflame ended up being on our um, August TBR, because I definitely want to pick it up after experiencing the cliffhanger ending that we get in this one. But the one thing that I will say, because like I obviously can't get too into like the second book of the series, but the one thing that I will say is a lot of people talk about how much they don't like DM. Like she is one of the female main characters that I hear the most about, just like people having like an issue with her in her own book. But we aren't talking about Luther enough. Luther is so annoying. Luther literally starts a conversation with her 8 different times about why he's being the way he's being, and then we'll just drop it and be like, never mind. Or he'll be like, I can't tell you, it's for your own good. No, you're literally being the most pretentious, annoying asshole right now. Just tell DM why you're doing what you're doing, and then she'll side with you. Like, you want her to like work with you so damn bad, and you have so much respect for her, but you won't have a conversation with her? Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense. He's literally so obnoxious. I also hate Henry. I mean, we decided we hated Henry in the first book, but like, Henry still sucks in this book too. Don't worry. Don't worry. If you've read the first book and you're like, oh, dang, like, I hope Henry gets, but no, he won't. He never will. I fear. So yeah, that is Glow of the Everflame. Overall, gave it 4.25 stars. I just wish Luther was less obnoxious. And I did like the ending, like where we were going with the ending. I like some of the stuff that we learn in the ending. But again, that cliffhanger, man, that cliffhanger was not nice. I'm sad about it, but it's fine because I will be picking up the third book in August. Okay, the next book that we ended up picking up in the month of July actually made a guest appearance in one of my like reading in like public videos, like reading places that aren't my house. And that is the third volume of Heartstopper. So in this one, we're following Nick and Charlie, who are a couple of high schoolers who Charlie has been out for a couple of years, and Nick is becoming friends with him and starts to like question his sexuality. So they start having a cute little budding romance. And this one follows their school's summer trip to Paris, which I thought was very interesting, very fun. It was nice to kind of see the boys in a different setting and also get to see them like be with their friends, because I feel like we've had these side characters kind of floating around, but we've never gotten to like learn anything about them, if that makes sense. Because it's a graphic novel, like you don't get to hear a lot of inner monologues, and so we don't really know like who each friend is in this friend group. But this one kind of uncovered who all they are and all of our little side characters, and kind of, you know, what their goals and their motives and their things are. So I really enjoyed this one. Gave it 5 stars because I love the Heartstopper series. The only thing that I didn't absolutely love about this one is I feel like they've been hinting at Charlie having some kind of disordered eating for a little while. Like, he doesn't eat a lot. Like, it's kind of like a known thing in these books that Charlie's just like a small guy, and so he doesn't eat a ton. And so now they're like making it like a really big deal, which I do agree is important to talk about disordered eating because it can take multiple forms and different ways. But I also didn't love that it was kind of like, oh, all this stuff's going on around this like really cool Paris trip, but also Charlie. We're worried about Charlie. Like, can these boys get a break? No, no, apparently they literally can't. Never getting a break ever again. But overall, I enjoyed it. Overall, give it 5 stars. We'll be continuing because I own 4 and 5. I thrifted 4 if you saw my book haul video, but own 4 and 5 now, so we'll definitely be continuing the series. So the next book that I picked up in the month of July was Canadian Boyfriend. This one I ended up giving 4.25 stars. I think that was my favorite rating this month. I think if it wasn't a 5, it was a 4.25. Like, I just couldn't give it like a full 4.5, but a 4 sounded really like low for some of these. But overall, Canadian Boyfriend by Jenny Holiday. I did enjoy this one, but there was a time where I thought I wouldn't. Like, the beginning is a little obnoxious. Like, to set the scene, we are following our female main character, Aurora, and she works at like a dance studio part-time. And one of her students from previous years is coming back after the passing of her mom, and she finds out that this particular student's dad is like a famous hockey player. And so she like not really like weasels her way in, because like that sounds conniving, but like her and this like hockey player and this little girl end up having like a really good dynamic with themselves. Like this little girl really enjoys her dance classes. So when her dad is taking her to therapy, she mentions to her therapist that like the two important things in her life that she doesn't want to change are, you know, going for drives with her dad and going to her dance classes. So her dad makes the point that like, okay, we're keeping up the dance classes. You're going to keep seeing Aurora as your dance teacher. Like we're going to keep things going. And he finds out that Aurora's situation is not great. She's living in an apartment she can't afford. She has like all of these like bills and things that she needs to pay. And her other job is working as a barista. And like that's what's giving her health insurance, but like it's not great health insurance. And so he basically offers to like have her be a live-in nanny for him and take care of his daughter while he's, you know, like away for like hockey things. And so like overall, like the story and like the dynamic and the way that it all kind of unfolds makes sense. But the first like 25-30% of the book, Aurora keeps mentioning, like, I'm keeping a secret from him and he'll hate me. And it's like, girl, what the hell is the secret? Like, it can't be that bad. Basically, she'd met him at a coffee stand that she worked at in the mall like years before, like when she was like in high school. And honestly, she was mentally unwell. And she decided to pretend that that's her boyfriend, her little Canadian boyfriend. That's the name of the book. And she would like write letters to him to like vent out her feelings. And like it was basically like a diary. Like if you've ever read oh my god, what is that book? That's gonna piss me off. But I know that there was a book that I read in like elementary school where this guy's dad is like not in his life at all. And so his therapist recommends that he writes letters addressed to like someone that he does respect and does see as a father figure. So he started writing letters to like an actor, like not to mail them out, but just to like have like a place to put his thoughts. And so he would address them to this guy and then sign off on them and then like keep them in his little notebook. That's literally what Aurora did, but with this Canadian boyfriend for like the end of high school going into college. Because she was a competitive dancer. She didn't really have friends. She was very isolated. She didn't like dancing anymore, but couldn't tell her mom that she wanted to quit dancing. And so she didn't have anyone to vent any of her feelings to. So she just made this guy up in her mind and decided, like, okay, well, I've met him once. He seemed nice enough. I'll tell people he's my boyfriend, and then I'll just keep writing these letters to him. And so she like thinks in her mind that this is gonna be like a huge like deal breaker and like a big thing that this hockey player is gonna hate about her. And I mean, he finds it out and he's kind of mad, but like it also is not that big of a deal. And if Aurora hadn't waited like she did, it would have been like nothing. Like I genuinely think if she would have started off by telling him like, "Oh, I have a funny story. I used to pretend you were my boyfriend." Like he would probably think that's so funny. But she waited until she was living in their freaking house. Like, girl, that's weird. That's creepy. I don't like that. But then there was also like a weird subplot of the like male main character. I think his name's Mike. Yeah, Mike. Of Mike like learning what emotional labor is and like understanding like how to like run a household because he had been with his deceased wife for like years and like she just run everything. Like she'd been taking care of their daughter, she's been taking care of their Christmas party, she's been taking care of like everything. She's been holding down the fort while he's being like this nation traveling hockey player. And then she passes away and he learns like, oh, I was shit. Like I was a bad person. Like herp derp, dude. You never asked your wife how she was feeling. And there's like a whole other plot line of like how he wanted to have another baby before their daughter got too old because she's like 11 or 12 I think in the book. But he wanted to like have another baby so they were like closer in age and his wife didn't, so she stayed on birth control but told him she was off of it. And it was like this whole mess of like, yeah, dude, no one will want to have a kid with you if you literally don't even take care of the one you already have. Like this just makes sense. And so it was kind of like Mike at like 30 something years old like learning how to be an adult. And that was like a little bit annoying, but it was also kind of nice because like Aurora also was learning how to be an adult. So it kind of worked. They made sense together. I did enjoy them together. I think they're a good couple. But at the heart of it, there was things that I did not love, which is why it was a 4.25 stars. I also really liked the ending. I thought the ending was super cute and like really happy. Overall, enjoyed it. There is also a like sister novel, companion novel following Aurora's boss, who owns like the dance studio. And I do kind of want to read that one because I thought that she was a really interesting character and I liked her a lot. So I might read that one later. So the next book that I ended up reading in the month of July was on my Kindle, so I don't have a physical copy, but it was The Empress by Kristen Cass. Overall, enjoyed it. Could have enjoyed it more. I gave it 3.75 stars because I did not think it was worthy of a 4 star, which is kind of rough, kind of sad. I think this is one of the lowest ratings I've given this year, which like sucks. But overall, I feel like it just didn't hit the way that I'd wanted it to hit, and I think that 3.75 is fair for what we got. So in this book, we are following our female main character, whose name I don't remember if I'm being honest. But she goes to a like tarot reading, and she like gets this weird like prediction, weird like tarot card thing from this tarot reading. She decides to like continue to go about her day. She ends up bombing like a presentation at work. She decides she's gonna go over to her boyfriend's house to feel better, and her boyfriend is with another woman. It's not like her exclusive boyfriend. He's like, we never defined being exclusive, so I can see whatever I want. So that does not go well. So this girl's just having like the shittiest day of her life, and then she like trips on the curb on the sidewalk and falls into like a different world. She wakes up and she's in this castle, and she has her purse and she's trying to like pick up her tarot card because she thinks that the tarot card has something to do with it. She ends up dropping all of her shit and like fleeing the castle, and like none of these people know what her phone is, none of these people know like about technology or flashlights, and so it's like basically medieval times is like when she got teleported to. And so this guy decides like, hey, I'm like an exiled warrior of this kingdom. Like, come hang out in my like cabin. I'll like nurse you back to health, and then we're gonna like infiltrate the castle, and like you're gonna help me fix my problems with like the king. And so that's kind of like our setup. So as they're, like about to start heading to the castle, they encounter, I think it's like the King of Cups or something, like from a different neighboring kingdom, and this guy and his wife get attacked. They are unalived by these like robbers. And so the girl and this guy decide, okay, we're going to go ahead and pretend to be the king and queen of cups, lord and lady of cups or whatever. And we're going to go get in the castle this way. And that's where we're going to figure it out. And so like overall, it like was a good premise and it started off really strong, but we really got lost at the end. Like there was a lot of weird stuff going on that I was like, what is happening? What's going on? Cause like in like this world, like the guy kind of explains it as like everyone has like a doppelganger. So like she saw a guy who looked like him in her regular world. The like girl antagonist looks exactly like the female main character's coworker, and like she makes a friend with a different girl who looks exactly like her other coworker. And so it's kind of like that's weird. Like where's her doppelganger? Where is the girl's doppelganger? Like why is she the only one of herself? Like, wouldn't someone else in this realm be like, oh hey, you look a lot like my cousin? Like it didn't really track to me how everyone else got a doppelganger but her. And then I also was hoping that this would be like a story about like self-love or like overcoming, like the obstacles that we put in our own way. Cause like in the female main character's head, she's like, oh, my coworker hates me. She's always trying to like ruin my life. But like her coworker's never done anything to actively hurt her or actively ruin her time. She just was more prepared and gave a better presentation. And so I just didn't understand why the like actual moral of the story ended up being just change everything about yourself for a boy. I also didn't like the love story at all. Like the pacing of the love story was really, really off. Cause like they decided they're not going to like get involved with each other because like she's worried that he's gonna like make her stay in this cabin and pump out like 100 babies for him. He's like, yeah, no, actually, I'm not gonna do that. And he's talking about how he doesn't do feelings. He's been burned in the past. And so then they decide, okay, well, like we can just do physical only. And then immediately she falls in love. And she sees him like 2 times after the first spice scene. And she's immediately like, I'm in love with him. And it's like, girl, you've had 2 conversations with this guy. And then also when we find out kind of like who the big bad is and like why the big bad is bad, like it has to do with him. And he was like going to ditch our female main character to get with the female antagonist. And it's like, what, why would you still want to be with him after that? Like I couldn't grasp it. I wasn't understanding. So overall, lots of plot holes, lots of like stories that just didn't make sense. A lot of the stuff just was confusing. And then there also was like a side character of the queen who like her husband had passed away, and it was like her son who was the new king and was like running the kingdom and like low-key ruining the kingdom. And like we meet her 2 times. And the first time we meet her, she's like very anti being queen. Like she's like, I'm over it. I'm done. The second time we meet her, she's like, I'm so glad that I get to rule the country. Girl, like you're giving me whiplash. Don't do that. So yeah, overall, was not a fan of the Empress. I'm very hopeful for the lovers because we do get set up with like the character from this world that we're going to be like following along in the lovers. So I just hope that I like that female main character a little bit better. And I think that that would redeem that series for me at least a little bit. The next book I picked up in the month of July was What Lies in the Woods. This one's by Kate Alice Marshall. And I ended up giving this one a 4 stars. Overall, I did enjoy it. So in this one, we are following our female main character, Naomi, and her and 2 of her best friends ended up um, like in a situation in the woods, in the wilderness, where Naomi was attacked. She was stabbed, I think, 17 times, and she ends up living to like tell the tale, but she doesn't remember any of it. So her friends and her identified this guy as being the person who attacked her, the person who did it, but there's no real like evidence besides their testimony. Like there's no real thing to confirm that this is the guy who did it, but he's been linked to a bunch of other murders. Like there's tons of victims of this guy. I think there's like 5 or 6. And so they don't have any concrete evidence that he's the one who attacked Naomi, but they also can't nail him on these other murders. They just like know he's like the main suspect guy for them. So Naomi and her friends end up like testifying and saying he's the guy who attacked her, and he gets put away in jail. He dies in jail like 20 years later, and so they're in their 30s. And so Naomi ends up going back to her small town, which is actually like super close to where I am. It's like a fictional town, but it's out on the peninsula. So she mentions like places that I go to like all the time. And so basically, she goes back to her small town and starts to like try to uncover like what actually did happen to her. Because she's like, we put away the wrong guy, I think. And one of her friends also gets convinced that they put away the wrong guy. Her friend has been doing a lot of research, has been uncovering a lot of things, and her friend ended up getting murdered. And so it looks like it could have been suicide, but they're not 100% sure. And so Naomi's like, okay, well, whoever killed my friend also probably hurt me, is like kind of her like conclusion. And so we start following Naomi as she works with a guy who does a podcast, which I know we love a podcast. So she starts working with a guy who does a podcast and is doing a like new show based on the guy who like attacked her and murdered all those other women. And so he's kind of helping her out, but piecing together what actually happened in the woods with Naomi. So overall, I did enjoy this one, but it was very predictable. Like very predictable. Like I was like, okay, this is going one of 2 ways. And it did kind of go both of the ways that I thought that it would. But the ways that I thought that it was going, I think I figured it out like 70% in. Like I had an idea probably like halfway. And then like my other idea came at 70%. I was like, it's one of these 2 things. And then it was both of those 2 things. So if you're like a big mystery thriller person, you read a lot of them, don't expect the twist to like be twisty. Like don't expect it to actually get you. But overall, I did enjoy it. Overall, I think that if you don't read mystery thrillers, this would be a really good one to kind of start with and wet your toes in. Okay, the next book that we ended up picking up ended up being the last book left on my physical TBR for the month of July, which was Expiration Dates by Rebecca Searle. I ended up giving this one 4 stars as well. I did kind of enjoy it. Again, it was a really predictable read for me. I don't know if it just was like a little too glaringly obvious, or like I don't really know how to explain why it was like so predictable. I mean, it's a romance book. Like, of course, it's predictable, but this was like a different kind of predictable. So, in this one, we're following our female main character, Daphne, who every time she enters a new relationship, she receives a piece of paper with the boy's name and how long that relationship's going to last, whether it's one night, whether it's 5 weeks, whether it's 6 months, whether it's 2 years. Like, she just knows when she enters these relationships, like how long they're going to last. And she finally gets a piece of paper with a guy's name right before her blind date, and it doesn't have a date. Like it doesn't have time on it. It's just a boy's name and it's blank. The rest of it's like blank. And so she goes on this date with this guy. She not really hits it off with him, but like she sees the potential. And so she convinces herself, like, okay, like, this is my soulmate. Like, we're going to be together forever. And, like, you kind of see, like, glimpses into her past relationships and her friendship with her best friend, who actually was one of the guys that she was in a relationship with. She had met Hugo 5 years previously, and they were in a, like, 3-ish month long relationship. And so you kind of see, like, how she had treated relationships before. And you notice this, like, pattern of her, like, knowing it's ending. So she doesn't really do anything to save it. Whereas with this guy that she's in a relationship with, like, she's making excuses for why, like, these, like, small quirks, like, are okay. Or, like, why these, like, misalignments in their values. Like, they, like, can't decide on if they want to have kids or not. She, like, kind of, like, chalks that up to, like, oh, okay, like, we'll just work through it later. We'll figure it out later. And so she doesn't say anything when he, like, does stuff she doesn't like. She kind of, like, loses a lot of her identity in this relationship. She decides, like, oh, I'll move into his apartment. I'm going to give up my apartment. Like, it'll be fine. But it is very much giving, like, do you want what you want because it's best for you, or do you want what you want because you want it? And so Daphne is making a lot of sacrifices to herself because she thinks that this relationship just looks good on paper, and she thinks that, like, she should want to be in this relationship. This should be the relationship she's in forever. And so it very much is giving, like, if you like Olivia Rodrigo, this is giving her new album. Like, I feel like this is very much like, you start off being, like, obsessed with this person, and you're, like, so down bad for them, and, like, all of these things start to click and make sense, and then you start to realize, like, oh no, like, this is not good for me. This is not what I wanted. And so Daphne has to kind of make this choice and make this decision of, like, does she want to give up a happily ever after to pursue, like, what she actually is going to feel fulfilled in. And so that was very interesting. I also did not love how much this was about California. Like, Daphne's born and raised in Southern California, like, outside of LA, and, like, everything that she's ever done has been in California. Like, she moved away from home and she went to San Francisco. Guy looks perfect on paper. His name's Jake, and he's from Seattle. And she says, like, oh, that's so far away. And it's like, girl, you're on the same coast. So I didn't overall love that, but overall I had a good time with it, even though it was very predictable. And even though, like, I kind of, like, don't agree 100% with the direction that Daphne took in the end, but I still think that it was the conclusion that we need to have. So overall, I enjoyed it. So that gets us into the last book that I'm going to include in this wrap up. I did technically finish this morning, so kind of finished it in August, kind of finished it in July, because I read most of it in July. I think I had an hour left of the audiobook this morning, so I just cranked it out because I was like, I'm not going to remember any of this for August wrap up, that's for sure. But that is The Curse of Ophelia. So this one is the first book in, I guess, the Ophelia series. I don't really know what the series itself is called, but this is the first book in it. There are 6 books total, I believe, or 5 books in a novella. Yes, there's 5 books in a novella total in this. But this is the first one. Overall, I liked it. I think I'm going to land on a 4.25 star again. That sounds mean, but I like the world building in this. I like the idea of what's going on in this. Execution felt very formulaic. So in this one, we're following our female main character, Ophelia, whose life got turned around about 2 years ago when her people, like, underwent this big curse. They weren't allowed to go through this, like, ritual that kind of makes them official warriors. And her, like, boyfriend, fiance, betrothed, whatever you want to call it, he, like, was undergoing this ritual and he hasn't returned. But when he left to go on this, like, ritual, basically the curse that was, like, plaguing her people stopped. So a lot of people around her are okay with her boyfriend, fiance, lover, guy, just never coming back because they think that him being gone is what's keeping this curse at bay. And then our female main character ends up waking up one day with this curse. She has it. She's terrified because it usually affects, like, whole bloodlines. So she's like, okay, that means my parents definitely have it. That means my sister has it. No, like, everyone else in her house is completely fine. So she decides that because it's affecting her, she needs to go on the ritual. She needs to go on this quest, go into the mountains and complete this ritual that her boyfriend, lover, husband, whatever you want to call him, that he went missing doing. And so that's kind of, like, where this sets off. I do really enjoy our female main character. I think that she has, like, a lot of stuff that's going on. Like, she's a little traumatized, but she's pushing through. She has a great group of friends, so there's definitely a found family aspect going on in this book. We are following her and then 2 of her best friends, her sister, and then one of their like human friends. They are all kind of going on this little mission together to get her to the mountains to complete the ritual. Um, and so even though it is very formulaic, and I don't love that it's just like they're riding horses through the freaking wilderness for like 400 pages. How many pages is this book? Yeah, 336 or 366. So they're basically riding horses through the wilderness for like 280 pages. So that feels a little formulaic to me. That feels like a little, we've done it. We've been there, done that. But I think that the setup for this world and kind of like how these different like groups of people are kind of organized and factioned off, I think that's very interesting and that will come into play in later books. I think this one just like has to set that foundation, so it's a lot less interesting. But I really enjoyed it. I loved the ending. I'm very excited for the second book after reading the ending. We'll see if the sequel of this makes it into the September TBR. So hopefully I can have 2 of the 5 books read by the time BGC happens. But the main reason I picked this one is because I had an audiobook credit for it. And then I also will be seeing this author in September. So hopefully we can read the sequel very soon because I did enjoy this one. But we'll see. Let's go ahead and do like our little book stack because this book stack's kind of crazy. I know that I like mentioned at the end of which TBR? August. At the end of August TBR, I mentioned like, oh dang, like this is like the size of a normal stack for me, like, and it's only 6 books. This stack is definitely bigger though. Like it's 10 books because one of them was a Kindle one, but it's this one's definitely taken the cake on tallest stack for now. Here's all of the books that I read in the month of July. Like I said, it was kind of a crazy reading month, but overall, got a lot of books in. Very proud of myself. If you make it to the end of the video, go ahead and leave. Which emoji should we leave? Maybe leave the moon emoji because I feel like that's fitting for Fever Dream, but also for Curse of Ophelia because there's a lot of like moons and stars in that book. So leave the moon emoji and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Okay, so in the month of wait, how many books did I read? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. But I'm very excited for the last book in this series. We're not talking about what's the guy's name? I already forgot his name, which is mean. Luther. There we go. The next book that I ended up picking up in the month of June, no, and I'm not explaining this well.